but here with us to react in studio, Republican strategist Krysia Lenzo. Krysia, it got to the point where a vote was held and she got off without that censure.
Yes, and it's very unfortunate that she did get off without that censure because her rhetoric is inspiring violence. And there is a direct connection between the misinformation that we are seeing and the pro-Hamas sentiment, which is basically what it is, totally anti-Semitic, and what's resulting, what we're seeing on college campuses, what we're seeing on our streets. We're seeing swastikas being inscribed across buildings. We're seeing children being scared to go to school within Jewish communities. It ties to the rhetoric, and that's where we need to emphasize at this point what's misinformation and what's not. And
talking about misinformation, one of the biggest things that kicked this whole thing off was that tweet that came out from the Congresswoman Tlaib, again, about that Gaza hospital,
right.
the bombing that has taken place right outside of it, that rocket that landed there, which we now know was from Islamic Jihad. Again, right. A misfire, if you will, from Gaza back into Gaza. She put out that it was Israel's fault and Israel fired, which we now know to be confirmed not true from, again, the U.S. military authorities and again, IDF as well. Still hasn't taken down, still kind of stands behind that whole thing, pointing at that misinformation. But taking that into consideration, there are Republicans that just voted present. There are Republicans that didn't, that voted to kill this censure. Many of them pointing at this saying, look, the hand slapping, we're done with this. We used to not do this in the past. Now we're going to do this tit for tat. We don't want any part of it. We just want to move on with legislating. As a strategist, where do you fall reading those lines?
I think it's unfortunate that Republicans did not step up when they needed to, those who voted present instead of censuring Rashida Tlaib, because we know if it were a Republican who would have done the same, they would have been censured for sure or kicked out of Congress for that matter. And when it comes to going forward, this is not about First Amendment rights. They could make the argument claiming, oh, it's a slippery slope. We want people to have freedom of speech. No, this is outright hatred. This is leading to violence. And this is ultimately anti-American, anti-Israel, and goes against our fundamental freedoms to be safe in this country.
Really interesting point. Again, we're going to get to George Santos coming up in just a bit because that was another Congress member in the spotlight. Krysia, stay with us. So much more to discuss. Very good.